1 in 3 adults over the age of 70 will experience a serious fall this year, and roughly half of those who fall will never fully regain the independence they had before. That is not a scare tactic. That is the data from the World Health Organization. And the part that most doctors do not tell you is this: the majority of those falls are not random accidents. They are the predictable result of one specific thing that quietly changes in the way you walk. And that thing can be corrected, not with surgery, not with a prescription, with a single deliberate adjustment to how you place your feet every single time you step forward. If you want more content that actually explains what is happening inside your body, not just what your doctor hands you on a leaflet, subscribe to this channel and give this video a like. It helps us reach the people who need this most. Now, most people believe that falling in older age is simply about weakness. They think, my legs are not as strong as they used to be. I need a walking frame. I need to be more careful. And while strength does matter, that explanation is incomplete in a way that leaves people vulnerable. Because the research shows that the single greatest predictor of falls after 70 is not muscle weakness. It is something called gait variability, which, in plain language, means the inconsistency in the rhythm and pattern of your steps from one stride to the next. When your steps become irregular, when each one lands slightly differently from the last in terms of timing, length, and foot placement, your nervous system loses the ability to predict where the ground will be. And when prediction fails, balance fails with it. Think of it this way. Imagine you are walking across a room in the dark. As long as the floorboards are consistent, you move with reasonable confidence. But the moment one board is slightly raised or one tile is slightly lower than you expected, your body lurches. That lurch is not weakness. It is the failure of your nervous system's internal map. Gait variability is exactly that. Your footsteps have become that unpredictable floor, and your brain is lurching with every stride, constantly trying to catch up. Here is the physiology you need to understand. Your brain processes movement through a system called proprioception, your body's ability to sense its own position in space without using your eyes. Tiny sensors in your muscles, joints, and the soles of your feet send constant signals upward through your spinal cord to your cerebellum, which is the part of the brain responsible for balance and coordination. At the age of 25, this system operates with remarkable precision. But by the age of 70, proprioceptive sensitivity in the lower limbs has declined by roughly 40% in the average adult. That is almost half of the feedback your brain depended on. And here is the critical piece. This decline is not evenly distributed. It hits the small muscles and sensors around the ankle and the arch of the foot first and hardest, which means the very base of your movement system loses its reliability before anything else. Now, here is what clinics almost never tell you about the way this plays out on the street. The first mistake most people make is shortening their stride without realizing it. This happens gradually, over months or years, and it feels safe. Smaller steps feel more controlled, but research from the University of Illinois confirms that shortened stride length is one of the strongest predictors of fall risk. Not because short steps are inherently dangerous, but because they are the body's compensation for a deeper instability it has not addressed. When your stride shrinks, your center of gravity shifts forward and downward, and the time your foot spends flat on the ground, what physiologists call the stance phase, becomes uneven between your left and right side. One leg begins to bear slightly more load, the other slightly less, and over months, that asymmetry compounds into the kind of gait irregularity that puts you at risk. The second mistake is losing heel contact. Most people over 70 shift unconsciously into what is called a flat foot or toe-first gait. Instead of the heel striking first, the whole foot lands simultaneously or the toes lead. This may feel safer, and again, it is a compensation, not a solution. The problem is that heel contact is what activates the proprioceptive chain. When your heel strikes the ground deliberately and firmly, a cascade of nerve signals fires upward through your ankle, knee, and hip, telling your brain exactly where you are in space. Without that signal, your brain is navigating without a map. And navigating without a map in the dark is when people fall. The third mistake is looking down while walking. This one seems intuitive. Of course, you want to see where you are stepping. But research published in the journal Gait and Posture demonstrates that looking down while walking actually increases fall risk rather than reducing it. The reason is mechanical. When your head drops forward, your entire spine shifts out of neutral alignment. Your center of gravity moves anterior, forward, and your body must work constantly to prevent you from toppling. More importantly, it removes your brain's ability to use the horizon as a stabilizing reference. The vestibular system, which sits inside your inner ear and detects head position and movement, works in coordination with your vision. When your eyes are fixed on the ground 2 meters ahead of you, you give the vestibular system very little to work with. The result is reduced dynamic balance, the kind you need when the ground shifts unexpectedly. The fourth mistake is walking in soft-soled shoes with thick cushioning. The footwear industry has sold this as comfort, and it is comfort, but comfort has a cost after 70. Thick cushioned soles dampen the very proprioceptive signals your nervous system depends on. If your heel strike is muffled by 2 centimeters of foam, your foot sensors receive a diluted, imprecise signal. Clinical studies comparing falls in older adults wearing minimalist, thin-soled shoes versus thick cushioned shoes show a measurable advantage in balance scores for the thin-soled group. The sole of your shoe is not just padding. It is the interface between your nervous system and the ground. Muffling that interface is like wearing gloves when you are trying to feel for a light switch in the dark. Now let me address the myth that most people and most general practitioners still operate under. The myth is this: if you want better balance, you need to strengthen your legs. Squats, leg presses, resistance work on the quadriceps. And while lower limb strength matters, research from the British Journal of Sports Medicine makes clear that the relationship between leg strength and fall prevention is far weaker than most people assume. In older adults who fall, the deficit is almost never primarily strength. It is the neural connection between the foot, the spinal cord, and the cerebellum. You can have perfectly strong quadriceps and still fall repeatedly because your brain is not receiving clear enough signals from your feet to coordinate the force those muscles are producing. Strengthening muscles without retraining the neural pathway is like installing a powerful engine in a car with a faulty steering column. The power is there, the control is not. What actually matters is proprioceptive retraining, rebuilding the quality of the signal from the ground up. And the single change that does more for this than anything else, at no cost, requires no equipment, and can be started today, is deliberate heel-to-toe walking with eyes forward and a conscious heel strike. I want to explain exactly what this means and why it works, but first, let me tell you about Elena. Elena was 58 when she first came in. She had been a secondary school teacher for 30 years, on her feet for 6 hours a day, and she had always considered herself active. She came in not because she had fallen, but because she had started to feel what she described as unreliable on my feet. Her words, not mine. She said, "I keep catching myself on the edge of things. I grab a door frame, I reach for a wall. I never used to do that." Her daughter had noticed it too, and had started walking very close to her whenever they were in busy spaces, which Elena found both touching and alarming. Her GP had run a basic blood panel, found nothing unusual, and suggested calcium and vitamin D supplements. Elena took them faithfully for 8 months and noticed no change. She had also tried a Pilates class, which she enjoyed, but which also did not resolve the specific unreliability she was describing. When she arrived here, the consultation began not with tests, but with questions about her daily routine. I asked her to describe how she walked from her car into a supermarket. She described looking down at the ground, taking short, careful steps, and tending to shuffle slightly when the floor was shiny or wet. I asked her what shoes she wore most days. Thick-soled trainers with memory foam insoles. She had bought them specifically for comfort. We did not send her for imaging. We did not change her medication. We gave her 2 things: a specific walking protocol, which I will describe in a moment, and a pair of thin-soled shoes with a firm, flat base. Within 6 weeks, Elena reported a 40% reduction in what she called the grabbing moments, the reflexive reaching for walls and door frames. At 3 months, she said, "I feel like I trust my feet again. I didn't realize I had stopped." She returned to walking a 40-minute route she had abandoned 2 years earlier because it included a cobblestone section. She said the cobblestones no longer worried her. That is not a small outcome. That is a life reclaimed. Let me now tell you about the factors that accelerate proprioceptive decline beyond the normal aging curve. The first is uncontrolled blood sugar. Elevated glucose over time damages the small peripheral nerves, the very ones responsible for transmitting proprioceptive signals from the feet. This condition is called peripheral neuropathy, and it is not limited to people with diagnosed diabetes. Research shows that even mildly elevated fasting blood sugar, in the pre-diabetic range of 5.6 to 6.9 millimoles per liter, is sufficient to cause measurable nerve conduction slowing in the feet. Millions of people walking around with pre-diabetic blood sugar have no idea that their proprioceptive system is quietly being eroded. They feel a slight numbness, perhaps a mild tingling, and dismiss it as circulation. It is not. It is nerve damage in progress. The second major factor is sedentary behavior. Not just lack of exercise, sitting. Every hour spent seated reduces the load-bearing signals through your ankle and foot joints. The proprioceptive system, like muscle tissue, requires regular use to maintain its responsiveness. Clinical data from the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity shows that adults over 65 who spend more than 8 hours per day seated show significantly higher gait variability scores than those who break sitting with regular standing and walking. 8 hours of sitting is not a resting day. For many retired adults, it is a Tuesday. Now let me give you the protocol. I call it the Grounded Gait Reset, and it takes roughly 22 minutes per day, split into morning and evening. In the morning, ideally within 30 minutes of getting up, take a 10-minute barefoot walk on a firm surface, not carpet, which dampens the signal. A wooden floor, a tile surface, or, if weather permits, a garden path. The firmness of the surface is what allows your foot sensors to fire fully. As you walk, slow your pace by about 30% from your usual speed. This is deliberate. Slower walking forces your brain to actively manage each stride rather than running on autopilot. With each step, focus on placing your heel down first, then rolling forward through the arch, then pushing off the ball of the foot. Heel, arch, push. That three-part sequence is what your gait should look like, and most people over 65 have lost the middle portion entirely. Keep your eyes on the horizon or at eye level, not on the ground. Your chin should be parallel to the floor. This barefoot morning walk is not exercise in the cardiovascular sense. It is neural retraining. You are rebuilding the signaling pathway. In the evening, spend 6 minutes on what I call single-leg standing practice. Stand beside a worktop or a sturdy chair for safety. Lift one foot slightly off the ground and hold your balance on the standing leg for 30 seconds, then switch. Do 3 rounds on each side. After the first week, progress to closing your eyes for 5 seconds of each 30-second hold. This recruits the proprioceptive system maximally because when your visual reference is removed, your foot and ankle sensors must carry the full load of stabilization. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that this single exercise, performed consistently for 8 weeks, produces measurable improvements in dynamic balance in adults over 65. The dietary piece that supports this protocol specifically is oily fish. Salmon, mackerel, sardines, 3 servings per week minimum. The omega-3 fatty acids in oily fish support myelin, the protective sheath around nerve fibers, including the proprioceptive nerves in your feet. Without adequate myelin, nerve signals slow and degrade. This is not general wellness advice. It is specific support for the exact system you are retraining. The one thing I want you to avoid is foam balance boards or wobble cushions in the early stages. I know they are marketed heavily for balance training and they have a place, but used too early, before the basic gait pattern is reestablished, they can reinforce compensatory movement patterns rather than correcting them. Build the walking foundation first. In terms of diagnostic tests worth discussing with your doctor, the first is a fasting glucose test. The full name is a fasting plasma glucose test, and I would ask for it alongside a hemoglobin A1C, which shows your average blood sugar over the previous 3 months. You are looking for a fasting glucose below 5.6 millimoles per liter and an A1C below 42 millimoles per mole. If either figure is elevated, your proprioceptive nerves are at risk, and that is a conversation you need to have before it becomes visible damage. The second is a nerve conduction study, specifically of the peripheral nerves in the lower limb. Your GP can refer you to neurology for this. It measures how quickly signals travel through the nerves from your feet upward. Slowed conduction, particularly below 50 meters per second in the sensory fibers of the peroneal nerve, is a clinically meaningful finding that warrants active management. The third is a timed up-and-go test, commonly called the tug test. This is not a blood test. It is a functional assessment your GP or physiotherapist can perform in under 5 minutes. You stand up from a chair, walk 3 meters, turn, walk back, and sit down again. Healthy adults over 65 complete this in under 12 seconds. Between 12 and 20 seconds indicates moderate fall risk. Over 20 seconds is high risk. It is remarkably sensitive, costs nothing, and is almost never offered unless you specifically ask. Now, let me speak directly to your age for a moment, because this topic lands differently depending on where you are in life. If you are in your 50s, you are in the prevention window. Proprioceptive decline is beginning, but has not yet reached the threshold where it affects your daily movement. The habits you build now will determine your baseline at 70. This is the decade to act. If you are in your 60s, you are in the correction window. The decline is measurable, and you may already notice subtle changes, a hesitation on stairs, a slight unsteadiness on uneven ground. These are not inevitable, permanent changes. They are correctable with the right input, and the nervous system retains significant plasticity at this age. If you are in your 70s or beyond, you are in what I call the protection window. The priority is not returning to what you were at 50, it is preserving and improving what you have now. And the research is clear. Even adults in their 80s show measurable improvements in proprioceptive function and gait stability with consistent, targeted retraining. It is never too late to rebuild the signal. How old are you? Write it in the comments. I want to know which age group this content hits closest to home, so I can focus future videos on exactly where you are right now. Before I give you the action steps, I want to be direct about when this video is not enough. If you experience sudden dizziness that comes on without warning and makes the room spin, that is vertigo, and it has specific causes, some of them serious, that require a clinical assessment, not a walking protocol. If you notice that one side of your body feels noticeably weaker or less coordinated than the other, that asymmetry needs investigating. It can indicate a neurological issue that is separate from general proprioceptive decline. If you have experienced a fall in the last 3 months that caused any injury, or a near fall that frightened you, that is not a reason to watch more videos. That is a reason to see your doctor this week and ask specifically for a falls risk assessment. And if you have any numbness or burning in your feet that is worsening over weeks rather than months, ask your GP for the nerve conduction study I mentioned. Do not wait for your next routine appointment. Here is exactly what to do after this video. 1. Book a fasting glucose and hemoglobin A1C blood test with your GP and ask specifically about peripheral nerve health in the context of those results. 2. Start the 10-minute barefoot morning walk tomorrow on a firm surface at a deliberately slow pace with your eyes at horizon level. 3. Add 6 minutes of single-leg standing practice each evening using a stable support nearby for safety. 4. Eat oily fish 3 times this week. Sardines on toast, a grilled salmon fillet, or tinned mackerel are all sufficient. 5. Look at your daily footwear and consider whether thick cushioned soles may be muffling the proprioceptive signal you are trying to rebuild. 6. Ask your GP for a timed up and go assessment at your next appointment, even if you feel fine. Know your number before it becomes urgent. Everything we covered today is for your understanding and education. Your situation is specific to you, and using this as a starting point for a real conversation with your doctor will always be more useful than trying to manage things on your own. If this video helped you understand something you have been wondering about, something your appointments never quite explained, subscribe to Daily Fit Life and give this a like. That is what keeps this channel going, and it is how we reach the people who need this most.